Perfect. Well, thank you guys for coming to this. I know some of you have sat through this before, Trevor and JR, so please bear with us. We're going to do an abbreviated version. The version that JR went through was about 6, 7 hours with exercises in it. We're going to skip the exercises today. We're going to skip a lot of the HR stuff in here because I know it's been covered or will be covered in further supervisor manager training. So we're just going to go through kind of what it takes to go through event, large or small. And to start off here, we have some pictures of some of the events we do. Again, some of you have been with us a little while, so have experienced some of these events, and others have not. So you may experience some of these events for the first time this year coming up. So what we're looking at here, on the left there is a concert series out at Ford Park. I believe this one was Spring Back to Vail. On the right side, I believe that one's Mardi Gras. So as we go into some of the bigger stuff, this was Macklemore at the Burton US Open concert. Was the largest concert we've ever put on inside this venue. As you can see, it's pretty packed tight there. We made a lot of recommendations for this one, which were not taken into account and caused what you're seeing in front of you. Since this happened, this will never happen again, according to the town of Vail, and we have put in a lot of stuff that we had originally suggested to them. So hopefully you won't see something near as bad as this when it comes to your special events. Now we're looking at Teva Mountain Games, which is now the GoPro Mountain Games. We do concerts and mountain events throughout the 3-day period, 4-day period. Pro Cycle Challenge, again, Trevor can speak to this one. For him and I ran around this past year and took care of this one. What were crowds like during that one, Trevor?
Ridiculous.
Yep.
That was a lot of fun. I mean, being in the VIP area, you see a lot of different people. Each town kind of had its own little culture to it as we traveled across the state. It was a lot of fun.
Good. So now we're looking at another picture of Vail Mardi Gras. As you can see, all of these events that we do are pretty heavily populated. And it really depends on where we're doing it at as to how many people it takes to populate that area. Now you're looking at JUCO. I believe Courtney did some JUCO. Trevor did some JUCO this year. Again, long days, 8 days straight, but again, it's a pretty fun event. Again, we're looking at the U.S. Burton Open. These were the award ceremonies after the men's halfpipe. And we go into some of our smaller stuff, but still pretty well populated for the size of things. Top left there is the Breck Duck Race, which Sean took over this year. Sean, how did it look this year? Did it look like this?
Yeah, it grows each year. It's certainly weather dependent, and you have to prepare for those changes.
Absolutely. And then on the right side top there is another one of Sean's venues. This is the Riverwalk Center, where we do quite a few concerts inside. We can fit about 2,000 people in there, and that's cramming them in there, and it has happened before. This one's was pretty busy. Bottom left, we have Oktoberfest going on. Again, another very busy Vail event. Teva Mountain Games. Again, now it's GoPro Mountain Games. This one is a Spring Back to Vail, as you can see as it's labeled, but this one is at Checkpoint Charlie, where we don't really have a whole lot of events anymore, and that's because as you look on the bottom right, that's also Checkpoint Charlie, but it's Mardi Gras. It's a very ski area, so it populates very quickly. On the top left, we have Spring Back to Vail pond skimming, as well as the bottom left. As you can see going up the mountain there, again, very popular event, a lot of people. Here's a real good picture of Checkpoint Charlie for Springback. And again, as you can see, this is why we moved them out of this venue. Emergency wise, how do you think we can move through that venue? Anyone?
Choke point, not happening.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty tough to make it happen through there. So we did a couple things when we are still doing larger events there. We've created some emergency walkways on the left and right hand sides, as well as anything that's going to draw a crowd like this has been moved to a larger venue. And that larger venue is what we're looking at right now, which is Ford Park. Again, snow days. The last major one we did was STS9 out there, and that was an eye-opening experience for a lot of people in the town as to what a techno-type band brings in. We lost the gates within the first 3 minutes of it being open because there were 3,000 to 5,000 people waiting to get in. And then we kind of lost a lot of other things. We maintained control of the entire event, but we lost control of little things. But overall, everybody was happy with how it went.
Would you consider Porta Johns a little thing?
What's that?
Would you consider Porta Johns a little thing or a big thing?
As to pertaining to what?
Not enough.
That one, unfortunately, is not on our end of things. That one, is on the event production side of things.
That created a huge security problem.
It created a huge safety problem at the end because people were literally getting in fights because of it, as well as people urinating everywhere and the lines and not being able to get through, so on and so forth. So some of these things that we, and Sean can speak to this as well as Todd, we do our best to tell the production companies or producers what we think, but at the end of the day, it's their choice and we have to deal with it. Now, there does come a point, and we have done it on a few events, where no, if you don't do this, we're not doing it because it's not safe for us, it's not safe for our officers, it's too much liability for the patrons. And in a case like that, the event producers would generally, listen to us. But unfortunately, there are some things we can't control and just have to mitigate to our best ability. This was Tough Mudder up in Beaver Creek. We saw 10,000 participants as well as 8,000 guests that were there for this. We didn't have Tough Mudder in Beaver Creek this year. They went to Aspen, and I think that was at the request of Beaver Creek for them not returning, but I'm not 100% positive. We also do a lot of other things, family events, Grand Junction Art and Jazz Festival. As you can see again here, not a ton of people, but enough that in one place that it gets congested. Then we'll look into the big beers, which JR actually did with me last winter. JR, what were your thoughts on that?
I thought the entire event went off without a hitch. The only hiccup was, again, dealing with the coordinators on their end as far as what was allowed to be taken out of, the venue at the end, from when they were trading beers and the swag, whatever other items it was. But other than that, it was a very packed event. We didn't see too much intoxication or over-intoxicated persons, but I think overall it was a very well, very good event that we had.
Okay, then we go back to GoPro Mountain Games a little bit. As you can see in the bottom two pictures, that's the slacklining competition, which is the World Championships of slacklining. So it draws a pretty large crowd, as you can see through these few pictures. I was looking for a picture that was from further out, but couldn't find one. Top left there is the dog competitions. Top right is what they call the 8-ball competition. They have several kayaking competitions, races, trick competitions, so on and so forth. So again, very populated. So what's that tell you after seeing all of these events? And again, these are just a handful of some of the events we do. What are your thoughts on these events?
manpower intensive, scheduling is key, and preparing for change is paramount.
Okay, yep. One of the biggest things in special events is change. No matter what you've been told or the plans that you've been given, chances are something is going to change on a special event, and you have to be able to adapt to that. And you have to be able to adapt to that with the current manpower you have. So knowing your people, knowing your event, knowing your client is all paramount in this. Everybody agree with that? All right. So we start off with our mission statement. Right? Why do we want our supervisors and managers to know our mission statement?
To recognize that we're different.
Okay? To show the professionalism. You are the ones that are supposed to enforce this and instill this in our officers. Okay? So let's start off with getting the contract started. Again, I know some of you have already been through this and done this, so please chime in with anything that you think needs to be brought in that's not going to be covered, but we do only have an hour. So first off, when we're getting the contract started, we're going to gather all data. Right? We're going to take the name of the client, emergency contact phone number, client and billing email, all information pertaining to the event. How many officers do they want, duties of the officers, start and end times, expected attendance of the event, special requests. Why does this affect us? All the information that needs to go in there. All right, I'll start it off. So if a client calls us and says, I need 6 officers for this event, it's a new event, we've never done it before, and we've never been on site. How is that going to affect us?
You're relying on the client to tell you how to do your job.
And should we be doing that?
No, I'd want to take a look at the site.
Okay, exactly. Now, there are occasions that we can't, and we must rely on the client. And in a case like that, what are we going to tell them? We're going to tell them that it's based on their information, right? And that you cannot promise the outcome, depending on what it is, right? In a key situation, we're going to go out there, like Trevor said, and we're going to walk the site. We're going to meet with the client. We're going to talk through things, especially duties of officers and expected attendance of the event. Does anybody know, and Sean and Courtney, you're not allowed to answer this one. Per the International Fire Code, for a special event that's happening, how many officers do you have to have per how many people? And this is not including liquor boundaries. Does anybody know? All right, Sean or Courtney, do you know? Okay. Per the International Fire Code, once you hit 1,000 people in attendance, you are supposed to have 2 officers for every 250 people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be security officers, but it has to be what they call crowd management. Now, the gray area where some event producers try and slide through this are, well, my liquor boundaries are counted in this. They're not. Your liquor boundaries are not your crowd management personnel. Okay. Now, how can you better serve your client and get them to follow the code so they're not going to get fines for it and still not tax them for people if they're working on a budget? Can the event producer who's roaming around taking care of the event count as one of those people?
Yes, and so can volunteers and other people the staff has.
Exactly. So if they're working on a tight budget, you need to work with your client. If they're not working on a tight budget, you need to make sure you have the correct amount of roamers in the venue. Now, other things to take into consideration are police department. The majority of special events that happen throughout Colorado, when there's alcohol involved, will have police department there. Number of police officers could be dependent on the size of the event. So those officers are also counted into that crowd management. So make sure you know how many PD are coming, how many volunteers and what their jobs are, how many event personnel are going to be there that could potentially help out with this, and then derive your number needed from that, okay? As well as what the duties of the officers are, what your busy gates are going to be. Do you need 2 at a gate instead of 1? Do you need ID checkers? So on and so forth. So all of this needs to go into consideration when you're getting that contract started. You want to set yourself up for success. Again, there are some events out there that, no, we can't do that, we can't give you that many, so on and so forth, and there are budget restraints. Do your best to make things work, but at a minimum, make sure you and your officers are safe. Todd, do you have anything else to add on that one?
Nope.
Anybody else? Sean, Trevor, I know you guys have been doing events. JR, I know you've done a few as well. Do you guys have anything else that you think needs to go into that? Okay. Price approval and building the contract. So Sean, who do you get price approval from?
Price approval as in what we're billing, rate, or what their final price is going to be from the client?
Rate. What you're billing.
Price approval was going to come from Jessica or Todd or you.
All right. Rates are approved by the area manager or product manager, right? So Sean, for an event that calls up, do you need to get approval for your $29 rate?
No, it's already set.
Correct. It's already set. So you're the one approving that. Okay. Now, a supervisor that's below you comes to you if they're doing a contract and gets the approval, right?
Correct.
Okay. So Trevor, do you set your prices in your area, or does Matt when you're doing special events?
Matt does.
Okay.
At least he thinks he does. I trick him.
Okay, but you guys have already discussed what your rates should be for different occasions.
Correct.
Correct. So you and Matt have discussed that. So up here in Eagle County, same thing. Okay, I will set a rate, or Todd will set a rate, or if it's something new that we're talking through, we'll talk through it and set that rate. Now, special events is a little different than fixed contracts. There's a lot more that goes into fixed contract setting. Overhead, so on and so forth, management, scheduling, yada, yada, yada. So that's a much different process. That one will go through finance. Okay. But for general special events, it's going to go through your area manager. Okay. Then you're going to build the contract. You're going to save as a Word document, which I actually need to change because now it's an Excel document. Has everybody had the chance to see the Excel document that has been released a few months ago for special events?
Yeah, that's one with the red and it calculates on its own. Is that correct?
Correct. Okay. So the other thing that needs to be included in this is when you're doing this and when you're actually sending it out to the client, you're going to send it in PDF, right? And then you're going to send the second page, right, which is the terms. So there's actually 2 sections that you're going to send them. Before it was all in one, but now it's 2 because one's in Excel. Okay. So once you've built the contract and have the price approval, okay, you're going to send the contract. You send the contract to the client and you send your contract to events. Why do we send the contract to events?
So it's
So
distributed to
everybody
all the
that's in the
people that
events
need to
group
know
gets
it.
copied on it.
Correct. So everybody or anybody that could possibly take part in that event or have personnel that may be needed for that event, especially with the new scheduling process we have, this is very important. Okay? If we know the contract is certain, when you send the contract, you're going to put confirmed in it. Okay? If we're not sure, you're going to put unconfirmed. Why are we putting this in there?
So that said people that were copied on it know if it's actually going to happen, and they are constantly updated on just the status of the contract.
Correct. Okay. Also, it lets the scheduler know, right, whoever your scheduler is for the area, that it needs to be put on the schedule. And it also lets finance know that they need to bill for the deposit. Okay. So what are our deposit rules? Who can tell me what are our deposit rules? When do we require them, and how much is it?
50% up front, I think at least a month in advance. Unless it's like a last minute call, in which case a lot of times if it's a one-off, we'll do the full thing up front.
Okay.
If it's a new client or an unknown or unestablished client, it's payment in full up front.
Okay, correct. So here are the guidelines. 50% for over $1,000 if it's a current client. If it's a new client, it's up to finance if they want to bill for the entire contract or not. Now, if it is a private entity, meaning sometimes we do escorts to random locations, sometimes we do protection gigs, so on and so forth, those clients are generally billed in full, especially for the small ones like quinceañeras, weddings, so on and so forth. The contract is signed and they pay the deposit, which is the full deposit at that time in order to schedule our officers. Okay. Again, this is up to finance, but finance needs to be able to know that they can do it. And having the right information for them to do it is key. Okay. Very last thing on this is we must have a signed contract. Okay. When do we have to have this signed contract by? Okay. We have to have it before we step foot on site. Now, does that mean we can take a copy of the contract to the site right before the event and have the client sign it?
We've done that before, but we prefer not to.
Correct. It can be done, but we prefer not to. Okay. Some of our long-term clients are very guilty of this. So we do what we can. But we want to try and facilitate them having this ahead of time. Okay. Now on that, can a client reply back and say, I don't have a printer, I don't have a scanner. Can I just say, yes, I approve of this contract? Anyone, yes or no?
Repeat the question.
Can a client not sign a contract but reply to an email and say, I approve of this contract?
No, they still need a signature, even if it's an electronic signature.
Okay. They can. However, if they do this, you must tell them that their verbiage needs to say, I agree to the terms and conditions in this contract. Okay, it's got to be very specific. Then when that happens, that email must be sent to finance to be put in the same folder as the contract. Okay, it does not happen a lot, but you will get event producers that are on the ground and have forgotten to sign the contract, and you need to get approval of this contract in order to work. So this is acceptable, but you must follow those guidelines.
Don't advertise it though.
Correct. Okay, this is a last minute, I need a contract approval to be on site. Okay. So, and it has happened a few times, but again, you must follow those guidelines, and it's not something that we preach to our clients that is acceptable, but in a last minute scenario, yes, it can happen. Okay. So we talked about the deposit. Then the scheduler is going to build it into Solaix or Vantage at this point, or both. Okay, we're going to build it into SharePoint. We're going to use our new color coding system. Is everybody familiar with our new color coding system on SharePoint? Okay, Sean, what's your color on SharePoint?
I always see red, but my color is green.
Okay, correct. Your color is green. Eagle County's is red. Trevor, what's your color?
Blue on my end.
Is it all blue?
Yes.
Okay, so click on special events calendar at the top left right there, if you're currently on it.
Yeah, I'm switching over to it right now from the desktop.
Yep. So just so everybody knows, when you first click onto the special events calendar, it will all be blue. That's the preview. So if you click on the special events calendar where it says special events calendar in the top left, it will take you to that screen where it's all color coded. Okay, and that was a little confusion when we first started this. Did you get it loaded up, JR?
This internet is slow down here, so it's frozen right now. Give me a second.
Okay. All right, I'll put it on the screen. All right, so everybody see this calendar right here? All blue. Click on special events calendar, top left. It's going to populate, and here are our colors. And on the left-hand side is your key. Okay, Western Slope is black, Aspen is blue, Eagle County is red, Summit is green, Front Range is purple.
We're trying to change these colors back so that Front Range goes back to orange and Western Slope goes back to yellow, and we're working with the SharePoint designer right now to do that. The colors coincide with what's on the radios and the assets and a whole bunch of other databases. They're on the employee phone list that gets published. That's on the employee level under company-wide forms. They're on there as well. So right now there's a little bit of discrepancy on Western Slope being black or yellow and Front Range being orange or purple. So that will be ironed out here pretty soon.
Okay. So anybody have questions on the color coding and or on SharePoint? Okay. Let's continue. So what needs to go into SharePoint? All contract data. Name of event, emergency contact phone, venue information, number of officers, event time, meet time, and locations. Okay. Again, we're going to skip these exercises right now. Okay, scheduling. Emails. Mass email is sent out, including the next 30 to 60 days of events. We are working towards getting 90-day event calendars out. Okay, with the very large events that we have coming up, we're going to need to have them 90 days out. phone calls to fill open shifts 1 to 2 weeks in advance, update SharePoint and Solaix for those who wish to work. Again, this now falls on the areas. Okay. Does everybody know what our confirmation emails look like? Okay. So I'm going to show you guys what we've created here. If you go under Dropbox and you go under Supervisor Docs, everybody see this right here, Shift Confirmation Templates? If you open it up, you can save any shift confirmations that you want to build. As you can see, here's for Hoffman, Marriott, Maya, Seasons, Spanish Dance, Vail Farmers Market. If I click on this, let's just click on the Seasons, for example, it is going to automatically populate in Outlook. Okay, as you can see right here, it's already 2 events. When you're sending it to the people, you're going to open up your BCC. You're going to add your employees under the BCC column. Up here in the attached documents is your team lead administrative responsibilities, your event completion report, and sign-in sheet if needed. As you come down to here, you're going to fill in your date. You're going to fill out any additional information you need to. Your event supervisor. Now what I do on these is I'll go in here and I'll put off-site. So they know not to expect me there the entire time. Okay? So you can create these for all of your events that you have going on and just make them right here. As you see at the very top, there's the blank confirmation email. Okay, which means there's nothing in it. You can fill it out with everything you need. Okay, the only thing that's filled out is the event uniform, which again you can change. Okay, these confirmation emails should go out at a minimum of 48 hours prior. Now, if we have a last minute event, obviously it's not going to be 48 hours prior. Okay. Does anybody have any questions on the shift confirmations? Again, you can save your own for what you have. So Sean, if you would like, you can create Keystone one and then just fill in the name of the event. Or Riverwalk and fill in the name of the event. And you can have them in here so they don't take you so much time. Just save them as a blank. And all you're going to do when you're in your email is drag it, create it, and drag it into here, and it will save it. Okay? Anybody have any questions on that?
I have a statement. A lot of people like to shortcut the putting in the employee's phone number. It's one of the cardinal sins you can do. Because what happens on these event confirmations is when people hit the ground, when they're going into SharePoint calendars, when they're going into all of these things on their handheld devices, it gets difficult. But when they pull up the shift confirmation or they have it printed out to go next to their sign-in sheet, well, it's really simple to call someone and say, "Where are you? It's 5 after and you're not here yet." And 9 times out of 10, they're parking or they're embarrassed because they can't find your rally point. They can't find your meeting point. It is absolutely crucial to have those phone numbers. You have a radio error and you're on the ground, and that event confirmation sheet is the first thing that pops up because it's 48 hours out from the event when we search in our email account on the event name. Or we search in our email account on that employee's name, and it will actually show up very quickly what their name and phone number is, and with one touch of that phone number, we're calling that employee. So it's not acceptable to miss the employee phone number in the shift confirmations. Any information that you want to deploy to that employee should be in that email.
Okay. And to further on what Todd was saying, in your subject line, it says shift confirmation. Make sure you put what event the shift confirmation is for in the subject. That way your supervisor or the manager or even the employee can go in and type in the name of that event and it'll pull up. Okay. this has changed. It used to just say shift confirmation, and on your phone, it's too long. So do your best to abbreviate what you can in that line so it all shows up for you so you know exactly what it is. Okay? All right. Logistics for the special event. Be proactive about anticipating the client's needs. Make your maps of the venue. Plan your area layout and sections, marking them on the map. Make the emergency response plan. Has everybody seen mapping and emergency response plans that this company puts out? Has anybody not seen them? Has Brandon seen them?
Brendan, yes.
Yep. Courtney, have you seen them?
I haven't. It's Corey.
Okay. All right. So let's pull a couple up real quick. All right, we're in the process of changing things here. So I gotta find where they went to. All right, let's start with maps first. All right, so pull up a good one here. All right, so this one's Sean's venue. Okay, this is the Riverwalk Center. As you can see, security is notated by red squares on the maps. The two in the center at the very bottom are the roamers. You have two backstage, one at the dock that's as well backstage, one at each corner of the stage front, two at each entrance, and then you have one emergency exit that's on the left-hand middle there. Okay? Now that's a very basic map, so let's try a springback map. Did you move those, Todd, already?
I don't think I've moved them all yet.
Okay. So very basic direction here on this one. This is one of our larger venues out at Ford Park. This is the page 2. This is the entrance. As you can see on here, there's red lines. These red lines notate the divisions. Okay. As you can see in the very top, it says Division 5. Where the bag checks are happening, where the green squares are all lumped together, that's Division 6. Okay, and as you get into here, okay, this is an unfinished one, but you're looking at, again, these now say divisions instead of areas. Okay, let me see if I got a better one. There we go. Okay, this is a finished map. So as you can see, Division 1, Division 4, Division 2, Division 5, Division 3. Okay, and then in the blue are the area breakdowns. So if you have an event or some type of incident happen inside there, you can call out food area, toilets, truck area, sound north, sound south, VIP north, VIP south, backstage, stage front, so on and so forth. And as you can see in the stage front area, we have it broken down into A1 through 3, B1 through 3, and C1 through 3. Okay? Why do we break this down into that small of areas at the stage front? Okay. We
Kind
break
of like a grid search.
Exactly. It's basically grid coordinates. So if an emergency happens, a fight breaks out, there's a medical or anything else, you're not just saying stage front. you're saying stage front section B2, because in that area that's gridded out, there's probably 3,000 people, if not more, crammed into that little area. So rather than saying stage front and having to look for the emergency or incident, we have it broken down. Okay. Does anybody have questions on mapping? And again, we can do a separate training on mapping or individual training on mapping and how to do it and how to break venues down. The emergency services, police department, fire department, EMS, love these. Why? Because it makes their job easy. They know exactly where to go. They know exactly who is where, so on and so forth. Okay. This is a level of professionalism that most security companies do not have. This is what one of the reasons that set us aside from other ones is our planning.
If you're doing a venue of this size, chances are good one of us who do a lot of events is holding your hand. Okay. If you're doing a smaller venue, you get out a piece of paper and map out the room. Okay. If you're doing an outdoor venue, go to Google Earth and take a picture of it and put stickers on the paper. It doesn't matter, but the point is you should have a visual. Okay. And we can, like Ron said, we can help a lot more, but there's a very basic one right there he's looking at. That's great. That's a Google Earth picture that he just drew some lines on. You can draw those lines in PowerPoint and Publisher. Hell, you can probably do it in Word.
Okay. So now again, like Todd said, this is a very basic map, but does this give you guys an idea of what's happening for this event? You know exactly where the event area is. You know exactly where the lots are. Now, if you pulled up the emergency response plan to do this, they go in coordination with this. It says parking starts in lot 1. Once lot 1 is full, we then go to lot 2. Once lot 2 is full, we then go to lot 3. Once lot 3 is full, we then go to the road. Okay, so your emergency response plans will coordinate with your mapping. Okay, so let's talk about emergency response plans. Again, I'm not really sure where they're at yet.
I'm changing his files, guys, because he had like 4,000 files in one thing. So I'm sorting them by client right now, and that's why he's getting a little bit caught up.
All right, let's just go into Highline, because I know. Okay, so Red Bull Dreamline. This is what emergency response plan looks like. It can be extremely in-depth, or it can be just a brief overview, depending on what your needs are. But it always has these components: objective, organizational plan and location and assignments. So how many security officers? As you can see on here, it does say that the areas are indicated by blue on the site area plan, right? Okay, we go down to branch directors or division supervisors. So security's in there, racecourse medical, racecourse spectator ambulance, spectator medical tent, so on and so forth. Then it covers communication plan. Again, can be very brief or can be very detailed. In this one, it was a little more detailed. And we fall into security and safety issues. Then we fall into a medical plan. Then evacuation plan, and last but not least, your weather that's projected for that day or that week of events. Okay, so if you have a 1-day event, your weather's going to be short. If you have a 7-day event, you're going to break it down by all 7 days. Now, if you have a 7-day event, you're also going to put that weather may change and so on and so forth throughout the 7-day period, but this is what is projected as of right now. Okay. So with Red Bull Dreamline, which was in North Carolina, there were a lot of different components that happened there. So again, with the maps, oops, I opened the wrong one, I apologize. Okay, I do all my mapping in Photoshop because it's what I know. That doesn't mean you have to do it that way. Okay.
Do we have Adobe Photoshop that we can download to our computers?
There is a unsolicited version that can be put on your computer.
No, there's not. Okay, you can use Paint.net. Paint.net is Adobe Photoshop that's free. It's open source. It's the same thing. You can use Publisher. You can use a lot of other softwares, but we do not have Photoshop.
Okay, as you can see on here, not only security officers are on here, but we have sheriff's officers as well as Highline staff. Okay. If you go down even further into this, I believe it is this one. Okay, this is a blown up version of the map you just looked at. And again, I named it with specific areas and broke it down into sections. So if there was an issue, we could then go through it. Okay. So does anybody have any questions on emergency response plan and mapping? Again, we can help you with these. Okay, but they're a very good asset to have. And again, makes us look extremely professional to the event producers, to local emergency teams, so on and so forth. Okay. All right. We got 10 minutes. Let's try and get through the rest of this real quick. Okay. Assign supervisors and officers to specific locations. Requisition radios, uniforms, and vehicles for the event date. Okay. We went through it. We're not actually going to build one today. 48 hours prior to the event, we're going to send out confirmation emails. We're going to call the client, collect last minute details, provide the client with contact information for the managers or supervisors. 24 hours prior, we're making confirmation phone calls to every officer scheduled for small events and confirmation emails, BCCing all officers scheduled. Okay. So your event, there's the event manager, there's patrolling posts, which would be the supervisor, roamer, or responders. Then you have fixed posts, which are access control, alcohol boundary, ID checking your stage front. You're going to cover breaks, on-post etiquette, event rules, post times, transportation and parking. Okay. Again, I apologize, but we're just kind of get through this real quick. Know your personnel. Okay. Put officers in position.
I know you're going pretty fast, but here's a point, okay? And this is one that's really big and we need to pause and talk about, okay? Right now, we have spent 50 minutes talking about planning, and we're going to talk about the next 9 minutes. We're actually going to talk about executing and follow-up. And that's the way your event should work. I'm going to tell you right now. The more you pre-plan, the better off you are. This meeting is an indicator of exactly where you're going. This is on purpose. Okay? Go ahead.
Okay. Put your officers in positions where they can succeed. This is one of the biggest keys for your event to run properly. Know your personnel, guys. If you have new officers, put them with a veteran employee or an officer with a 4 or 5 rating. If you can't put them with a veteran, put them in an easy position to let them get in the feel of things, be able to know what they can and can't do. Okay? Not going to cover liquor laws. You guys should know these already. It is in Charlie training as well. Okay? At the event, once you get on site, you're going to arrive half hour early at the event with all your uniforms and equipment needed. You're going to walk your event. You're going to make sure all barriers, signs, trash cans are in place. Some of our events are very good at having everything set up for us prior. Other events are not. Okay? We may have to set these up. You're going to make contact with the client, go over expectations of the event, any foreseen problems that you may have or they may bring to you. Be proactive with the needs of the client. Fix it or do it before they ask you to. Okay? Then you're going to do your sign-in sheet, sign in all employees, check out all uniforms and equipment for each officer. Okay, guys, this is really important. We are short a lot of radios right now. A lot. In every area. Every area is short something. Okay? You must put every radio on there. And when you are checking out, somebody must check every radio, shirt, so on and so forth in. This is a lot of overhead that special events cannot afford. Okay? In most areas, your special events are your least bill rate. So we need to manage our overhead better. We need to keep track of uniforms and of radios. These are our two biggest culprits for our extreme overhead. Okay? Then we're going to cover our post-briefing. What should we cover in our post-briefing? Times of the event, rules of the event, liquor, law, boundaries, times, types, wristbands, dogs or no dogs, are we doing bag checks, bicycles or no bicycles, key locations in the event, where are the bathrooms, the ATM, where's parking, how about ticketing, how many times do we get asked where do I buy tickets or where do I buy beer, so on and so forth. Then we're going to cover breaks. Okay, how do they call over for a bathroom break? When are meal breaks going to happen? Radio etiquette. Speak clearly, be concise, use plain speak. Think about what you're going to say before you say it. These are all things we need to cover with officers every single time. A lot of our officers are part-time officers and they're not on the radio a lot. So you have to cover radio etiquette every single event. Dress code. Look professional. Shirts tucked in, black pants, shoes, and belt. Okay, what Todd and I both do is we'll stand everybody around and we won't single anybody out, but we'll go, all right, you tuck your shirt in, you fix your collar, you button that button. Those shoes will be okay for today, but next time don't have them. Make sure you notate it, so on and so forth. Make sure we do that check before we're sending people out on a post. Okay, then we're going to cover conflicts, medical, verbal, physical, alcohol, and how to handle them and who to call. Expectations of a Lone Star officer: no sitting or leaning, no tardiness. Once you're on post, don't leave until relieved. Always be polite, no smoking, no phone on post. Okay? And then we go through officer questions. Again, normally I'm going to have you build your own for your own event that you may have coming up and practice it. Okay? Then you're going to post the officers, open alcohol sales if applicable. Do your full walk around once everything is set up. What do you need for you to be successful? Be proactive and serve your client. Okay. Keeping the officers happy. Assign a supervisor or team lead to make rounds checking on the officers. This is why we have 2 roamers, guys. The second roamer this is their responsibility as well as responding to any major incidents that happen. The same supervisor or team lead should be giving regular breaks as well as requested breaks. The supervisor or team lead should make contact with each employee at least 3 times during the event. Events longer than 4 hours should have more. The manager or lead supervisor should focus on the event and the client. They should not be dealing with employees. Although we do want to make our way around and talk to the employees, it is not our primary role. Our primary role is the event running and the client. Okay? Liquor sales. Confirm with alcohol when they are closing and announce it to the officers. Close down all liquor at appropriate time. This time may change. Keep in contact with the client to verify. After 15 minutes of the start of the alcohol push, after 15 minutes, start the alcohol push. Consumers don't have to leave the event, but must dispose of alcohol in most events. Okay, a lot of our events are out on public property and they don't actually have to leave. We do some venues that we do actually push people out of the venues. Okay. Again, we're going to be proactive. We're going to pick up garbage or do what we need to do to make ourselves useful, but don't let it affect the alcohol push. Okay. Afterwards, we're going to do a debrief. All officers sign out, radios and equipment checked in by a supervisor. Go over everything from the event, commend good conduct, constructively review the bad. Supervisor goes over the sign-in sheet and totals the hours for the event. Supervisor then signs the sign-in sheet confirming everything is accurate. Okay, fill out your event completion report. Please note changes to the contract. We stayed late, why and who authorized it. We left early, why and who authorized it. Bill for contract. No changes to the contract. Okay, so these are different things that we can put under the contract data. We stayed late, we left early, or we billed for contract. Note any employee rating changes that may be needed, any client feedback, any supervisor input, and any suggestions for next year's events. A lot of our events we are doing yearly now. Okay, so we want to be set up for the next year. Okay, again, we're not going to do the exercises. Okay, after the event, return all equipment and turn in paperwork. Turn in paperwork to the overnight supervisor to update SLAEX and CC the product manager and area manager. This can be done through email or through scanners. Review SLAEX. Again, some of you have been tasked with this, others you don't have to. It depends on what your area manager has set forth for you. Contract product or area manager then reviews all paperwork for billing and payroll. Okay? All right. So just real quick, we're going to skip over IT, we're going to skip over HR, we're going to cover safety. Okay, safety is in our name and needs to be our culture, guys. Our primary role during all events is safety. Our staff, our attendees, the event staff that's working, EMS if called on site, so on and so forth. Okay, safety forms that could be filled out. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Near miss, injury, or health and hazard. Okay, these are 3 ones that we should be using. You as supervisors and managers should be filling out near misses for a lot of things on your sites. Okay. Roles. Your role is overall supervision of the event. Is everything running properly? You are an advocate for the organization. Okay. Often supervisors and managers are the first persons to tell employees about new policies and programs from management. It's not uncommon that employees are confused or frustrated by these new actions and need further clarification and support from shift leads or supervisors. In the rapidly changing world of today's organization, it can be a major challenge to present new programs to employees without them being frustrated. Their supervisor must authenticate, but be tactful. Okay? You're also an advocate for the employees. Again, we're just going to breeze through these. This is available on Dropbox. You can go through it yourself as well. You are a coach. Okay, you are a mentor. And now we'll go into further responsibilities. Security, client, customers, employees. Safety, client, customers, and employees. You're also responsible for paperwork, which we've covered. You are responsible for the enforcement of company policies, procedures, and protocols. For example, tardiness, dress code, and appearance. Employees, servant leadership. Who can tell me what servant leadership is real quick?
It's basically the concept that as a leader, you're serving your employees as opposed to them working up towards you.
Okay, pretty good description. You're doing everything you can to make their job easiest and enjoyable. Okay, sometimes it's very easy, other times it's very hard. But you want to instill this in the employees as well as teamwork. Okay?
Lead by example.
Exactly. Okay, FYI, 89% of managers believe employees leave for money, while 88% of employees actually leave for reasons having to do with their job, the culture, the manager, or the work environment. Okay, 43% of workers report that they do not feel valued by their employer. 71% of workers in the United States rate themselves as either not engaged or actively disengaged. 70% of the reasons employees leave their jobs are related to factors that are controlled by their direct supervisor. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Only 12% of employees leave for actual compensation issues. Okay? What does this mean? It's all in your hands. You guys are out there. You guys will be the ones with the supervisor or with the employees. You are the advocate for the organization. If you are the manager, you need to instill this in your team leader or supervisor underneath you. This is their job. Okay? Now, we're not going to go through the rest of this. We don't have the time. We are a couple minutes over right now. But again, this is available on Dropbox under supervisors training. Okay? And I will be putting James through a more detailed version of this. So if you wish to partake in that full version where we're doing the actual exercises, please send me an email. Okay? And I'll make sure that we get you in that training with it as well. Corey, it might not be a bad thing for you to do some of the exercises as well with, or have Zach do it. Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments on anything? Did anybody take anything away from this? Was it good? What do we need to add?
No, looks good. Thanks, Ron.
Again, I apologize. This is a 6-hour class, and we just kind of breezed through it in an hour. It is much more in depth. Ryan, what were your thoughts on things?
Unfortunately, guys, I was called away for a majority of this. I'm going to have to go through and watch the recording. I apologize. But, yeah, I mean, I just got back to my office. I apologize for being called away. But I will watch the remainder or this over again on the recording. Thanks, Ron.
All right, no worries. JR, I know this is your second time through it. Did you pick anything up this time that you didn't the first time we went through it?
I like the, just as far as when we covered the mapping it out. Like for me, I don't have the Illustrator or Publisher, so that's one of the things that I think if we also for guys that don't have that on their computer, if they want to just use Microsoft, the PowerPoint, or for us down here, I have the computer program, so we can definitely use that as well. I mean, just giving these guys other options. So if they don't have the Publisher installed on their computer, you can do just about all that same work in Microsoft PowerPoint.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, it was.
You can do it in Paint as well.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have much experience on the Paint side, but so I mean, there's 3 other things that maybe we can show in when you actually do your 7 or 8 hour training session, Ron. If they don't have that Publisher, just kind of show them how to do it in those other 2 programs.
For sure.
Hey, Ron, this is Brent. I got a question.
Yes, sir.
You have like how-to or checklists, like an operational checklist. So as you go through and do these things, you can just check boxes, like a quick reference type sheet for some of these kind of mandatory processes.
We do, yes. And they used to be in every folder of every event we did, and we went away from it. But it definitely needs to come back with the way we're doing scheduling now.
Yep.
So let's put that on as a review and to get a new one out.
It's something I'm literally writing as you guys are talking today.
And can we also maybe add a bunch of those if they need, and they probably already have SOGs and some LOGs for them. But let's think about a list we can, or anything that we need to add to that list as well, please.
Yeah, that was our goal today. Was I was writing all that stuff as he was talking. I literally have 5 pages done.
Yeah. Well, we talked through that one yesterday, and Todd said he was gonna, as we went through it, gonna write down what we needed for LOGs and what we needed to better further this process for everybody.
Good to go.
Thank you. Good comments. Anything else? Does anybody have anything else? Again, it was just super quick, but I hope you took something away from it, and it is available to go through the entire thing if you have the time or watch the video again. So again, if you want to be involved in that other 6-hour training that's going to be happening within the next few weeks here, please send me an email and I'll make sure you're involved in it. JR did take the full version at the beginning of the year, I believe. So it seemed to go pretty well. We're going to make some changes, a few additions to it, and update everything for some things that have changed in policy-wise or procedure-wise since things changed recently.
Okay. Let's declare the mandatory portion of this meeting done. So if you need to go, go. I am going to literally spend the next 2 minutes reviewing this from a high-level process as I show you the sheet that I've been building as we go. Okay. First of all, the presentation is called Special Events Training for Supervisors and Managers, located on Dropbox under Supervisor Documents Training for Supervisors. The process is that we review last year's calendar and we update this year's calendar so that we are at least 90 days out. Do not wait to be contacted by your client. Email or call your client at least 90 days out to confirm. It is unprofessional to wait for the order year after year after year. We know that we do these events. 99.9% of all the events on Special Events calendar last year are the same. All we do is add new ones to it. So it is our standard that we contact these people in advance. First client contact, you are gathering data. There is a form called the RFP questionnaire that will help you get through every single question you could ever imagine to ask a client. I highly advise that you familiarize yourself with that document if you do not already know it. Once you have all of that information, you are responding to the client's needs within 24 hours. Okay, that does not mean that you necessarily have to have the proposal out. But if it's a new client who's calling or someone who's requesting services, we must call them back within 24 hours, period. Even if it's to say, I don't have time to talk right now, but I will get to you on Tuesday. Is that acceptable? That call has to happen immediately. We issue a proposal. There is a contract creation SOG that we will be going over. It is also in writing in the supervisor level under blank agreements. We receive the signed contract. We deposit. The finance team deposits. Okay. We schedule. All right. We then issue LOGs. What are the event maps? How do things work? What's the emergency response plan? We issue those LOGs for every single event we do. Even if they're as simple as saying, this event should be very easy. All we're going to do is this. And it's, we have literally a major contract right now where we just prevent people from smoking, period. That's all we do. So we have a client contact 48 hours out. We have a pre-event meeting with our staff. We brief our staff. We check our uniforms. We do sign-in sheets. We focus on breaks with our staff during the event. Then we help push or take all the liquor off of the site. We debrief. We clean up that night. We no longer create a process where we clean up tomorrow morning. That is not acceptable. We clean up that night on every area. You must put all your equipment away. Preparation meets opportunity. If you're not prepared for an opportunity tomorrow, you're not going to get it. Your radios better be charged by the next morning just in case you have to use them. So you clean up that night. Your post-event is that you turn in your sign-in sheets, you update on balance, you use the overnight supervisor if for whatever reason you can't do the data entry yourself. Otherwise, do the data entry yourself. You're a supervisor. Do the data entry. Put everybody into Valiant, okay? Turn in your event completion report. Add that event completion report to the calendar for next year, okay? And add an event to next year's calendar. This marking the need so that you call them again, okay? 90 days out. Focus on safety. All right, that's my 3-minute recap. This will go out to you in a few minutes when I'm done with it. Any questions, comments, concerns, problems, actions? Okay. Thank you. Closing statements from Ron?
I'm good.